So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
A new president in the White House, a new administration ready to lead.
President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris take their oaths of office. A new era ushered in.
For there is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
This is the day when our democracy picks itself up.
This is not a moment of division, it's a moment of unification.
I pledge this to you. I will be a president for all Americans, all Americans. And I promise you, I will fight as hard for those who did not support me as for those who did.
Joe Biden is officially the 46th president of the United States. Kamala Harris, the first woman sworn in as vice president.
The historic inauguration comes in the middle of a pandemic and 2 weeks removed from deadly riots on the Capitol. Still, democracy moved forward today. President Biden placed his hand on a Bible that's been in his family for more than 100 years, swearing to serve and protect the Constitution.
In his address, he called for the nation to come together, a request for unity in a time of deep division.
But the American story depends not on any one of us, not on some of us, but on all of us, on we the people who seek a more perfect union. This is a great nation. We are good people. And over the centuries, through storm and strife, in peace and in war, we've come so far. But we still have far to go.
President Biden's message of unity is resonating across the country and right here in the Triad.
WFMY News 2's Alma McCarty asked local faith leaders about the overarching message.
President Joe Biden's inaugural speech focused on the importance of unity, to repair, to restore, to heal our nation. He acknowledged that some may see this as a foolish fantasy, but local faith leaders are hopeful it can be a reality.
My whole soul is in it. Today, on this January day, my whole soul is in this. They're uniting our people, uniting our nation. And I ask every American to join me in this cause.
It was a call to action from President Joe Biden just weeks after turmoil and terror on January 6th.
It is the worst of who we are. It is not the best of who we are. And so to be able to 2 weeks later look at that same physical space and witnessing something so different was just hopeful to me.
The differences were striking to Pastor Kim Priddy of Sedgefield Presbyterian Church in Greensboro. As a leader of faith, I wanted her to take on President Biden's message of unity. In such a divided nation, how can we achieve it? I also asked that question to Greensboro pastors Daryl Aaron of Providence Baptist and Alan Scharouse of First Baptist Church.
We come around the communion table, we come around the fellowship table, we come around these spaces. Churches need to create these spaces so that we can have hard conversations, so that we can get to the heart of the matter of what we perceive divides us.
I think our challenge, and I think Biden's challenge for unity, was a way of saying there are enough people who continue to believe and stand firm and hold fast to the principles of democracy.
We have the chance to get about important business together and common work and a common ethic. And I think that is the best way to find what unites us amidst the important differences that we have.
A message of finding common ground, to listen, learn, and solve real problems, to move forward. Alma McCarty, WFMY News 2.
Of course, the public couldn't attend the inauguration because of the pandemic and tight security, so millions watched from home. Ladonia Alford Jeffries of Greensboro made sure her young daughter saw it. 6-year-old Eleanor and 3-year-old Emerson watched a woman of color become vice president.
My daughters will say, like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, or, I want to be president. And now I can say, well, you know what? That's absolutely possible. And I can really feel it, not just say it, but really feel that I can, empower them to accomplish that. You can work hard, you can achieve things, but this is not for you. And for the first time today, it's like, well, no, that is for me. That can be for me. It can be for my daughters. It can be achieved. And that's something that I just did not think I would see in my lifetime.
Kamala Harris graduated from Howard University. Faculty and students at Triad HBCUs were watching today as well.
It just brings such joy and pride in knowing that we, as an fellow HBCU graduate, seeing Vice President Kamala Harris reach that point and to become the first. And as she says, she will not be the last, but let's celebrate the present in that she is the first. And it's just so overjoying, and it's just overwhelming in terms of the excitement I feel.
We heard from many Republican lawmakers responding to President Biden's address. In our state, Representative Ted Budd said, "I look forward to working with President Biden to unite the country." Representative Patrick McHenry said, "I'm hopeful we can find areas of bipartisan agreement with the Biden administration." And Senator Tom Tillis wrote, "I appreciate President Biden's call for unity, and I look forward to seeking common ground." Several other top Republicans spoke after today's ceremony.
I'd like to work with the president where I can, and we'll see what happens.
So let's go forth from here together, accomplish great things for the American people. And every time you look at this photo, remember the beginning of the job we have to do. Congratulations.
He pledged to be a president for all Americans, to work as hard for the many millions of Americans who did not support his candidacy as he will for the millions who did. So I congratulate my friend from Delaware, look forward to working with him as our new president wherever possible.
Tens of thousands of National Guard members were in D.C. for the inauguration. Security was tight following the deadly riots on the Capitol 2 weeks ago. Protests popped up at other state houses across the country. A march in California, a small gathering in Colorado, a rally in Florida. Most remained peaceful, with an exception, a smashed window at the Democratic headquarters in Portland, Oregon. Now, former President Donald Trump left the White House this morning. He did not attend the inauguration events. He held a farewell ceremony at Joint Base Andrews, then flew on Air Force One to Florida.
I will be watching, I will be listening, and I will tell you that the future of this country has never been better. I wish the new administration great luck and great success. So just a goodbye. We love you. We will be back in some form. Have a good life. We will see you soon.
Some of his final acts as president include issuing 144 pardons. One is for former chief strategist Steve Bannon, who was charged with defrauding donors out of hundreds of thousands of dollars. Trump reversed his own executive order aimed at draining the swamp. It restricted officials from lobbying after leaving government. He tossed out the rule just before he left office.
President Biden got to work quickly after taking the oath. Take a look at the big stack of folders on his desk. 15 executive orders signed in a matter of minutes. Let's walk through some of the highlights. First, the U.S. will rejoin the World Health Organization. President Trump had pulled us out amid the pandemic. We're also back in the Paris Climate Accord, another reversal on a Trump administration policy. Some financial relief for Americans. The eviction moratorium was extended to at least the end of March. Student loan payments are on pause until the end of September. The travel ban to a series of majority Muslim countries is now lifted. Countries include Syria, Iran, and Iraq. And border wall construction will come to an end. Biden also swore in dozens of his presidential appointees, but over Zoom. The process is already underway to confirm members of his cabinet. Intelligence Director Avril Haines was the first. The new White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, gave her first news conference to the White House press corps. She discussed the list of executive orders and the letter Trump left to Biden in the Oval Office.
This is a letter that was private, as he said to you all. It was both generous and gracious, and it was just a reflection of him not planning to release the letter unilaterally, but I wouldn't take it as an indication of a pending call with the former president.
DC's mayor asked people not to head to Washington for Inauguration Day, but some still went for the experience. Hear from a North Carolina family who was there today, plus a look back at Inauguration Day 4 years ago when our own Chad Silber witnessed history. That's in 8 minutes.
Over the last several months, every coronavirus metric we track has gone up significantly. Hospitalizations have been one of the most concerning as many hospitals get closer to hitting capacity. Over the past week or so, we've seen this number stabilize. WFMY News 2's Marissa Tansino found out how.
It's promising news, but we're not out of the woods yet. This past week's numbers in North Carolina are an encouraging sign that hospitalizations are stabilizing. Even in the last day, the number has dropped by 141, the biggest decrease we've ever seen. The story is similar over in the Triad. Guilford County's numbers pretty steady and even dropping over the last few days. Health experts say the rate of spread could be slowing.
It's a little too early to have the vaccine impact, but it's certainly indications that people are wearing masks more, that people may be traveling less. We may be moving past that initial bump of travel towards the holidays.
Cone Health data scientist Michael DeWitt says the kind of treatment patients are getting in the hospital could be having an impact too.
Trying to use different treatment options to maybe help infected cases not convert to serious disease and need to come to the hospital.
DeWitt says they're also diving into data through technology. Cell phone technology allows companies to track people's movement. The data is showing people are going out less. Pair that with survey data showing people are wearing masks more. The slight decline in hospitalizations is a small victory that should be noted, but DeWitt says there's no room for complacency.
It can very easily turn, and we've seen with super spreading events that, this number could blow up very quickly.
DeWitt says he'd feel more comfortable if this trend continued over at least the next 14 days. That would show a more significant sign of improvement.
Marissa, thank you. Among all the coronavirus metrics we monitor, I believe the number of people in the hospital is our best indication of how we're doing. The other two numbers we watch closely are new daily cases and % positive. But think about it. If no one got a coronavirus test tomorrow, those two numbers wouldn't go up. The number of people in the hospital doesn't depend on tests or cases.
Guilford County continued giving out vaccines today at the Greensboro Coliseum, and you may see more health departments use big venues like this soon. Alamance County is considering using the Burlington Royals Stadium. Forsyth County is using the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds. Guilford County opened up more vaccine appointments this morning, but once again, they filled up within hours. Forsyth opened up slots this afternoon, and now all of those are filled up. Davidson County will open up appointments for people 65 and older on Friday. Rockingham County's appointment-only drive-through clinic starts tomorrow. If you are trying to schedule an appointment, go to our website. We have a list of how to schedule appointments in all of our counties. You can find it on WFMYnews2.com.
Checking in from outside, it is getting cold, of course. Temperatures right now are in the low 30s and eventually will be settling into right around 29 to 30 degrees overnight tonight. Here's where it is outside of your window right now. Upper 20s to the north, low 30s across much of the Triad. The air is very dry right now, and that plays a factor into my forecast. You see this rain back here in Tennessee? Well, it's going to encounter our dry air when it moves in tomorrow morning. So while it's possible we could see a couple of sprinkles early on, I actually think a lot of this is just going to evaporate before it hits the ground. We will continue to have a small chance for a shower through about 9 or 10 or so in the morning, but after that, some clearing sky is likely for the afternoon. So for your Thursday, plan on it to be chilly in the morning, possible to see a shower or sprinkle here or there, but we will warm up, getting into the low 50s for the afternoon with some sunshine. That's not all. I'm tracking a couple more systems coming down the pike and an interesting week shaping up next week. My forecast is coming up.
A Triad public servant honored for more than 100 miles, from Raleigh to Mount Airy, across highways and under bridges, first responders and more, honoring the life of John Shelton.
Shelton died over the weekend. He served the county for 40 years. Today, a long procession of police cruisers and ambulances brought his body back to the Piedmont. People waved American flags. Emergency services started a memorial for him outside their building. Friends and coworkers shared their grief.
You learn who the people are that are going to be there with you. And John was always that guy. I could call him in the middle of the night and say, I need you. He wouldn't say what's wrong. He'd say, where are you? I'm on the way.
Shelton's family hasn't said how he died. He was 67 years old. Well, because of security and the pandemic, most watched today's inauguration from home, but still, some made the trek to Washington, D.C. to be there in some capacity. We heard from one family that came from North Carolina.
We promised her we would take her up here for this, and 2 weeks kind of threw it off a little bit, but we decided to stick with it anyway.
So excited to see anything. Yeah, this is my first time to see, who see Washington, D.C.
And seeing it in person is pretty special. I got to see President Trump's inauguration back in 2017. I went with a group of students from High Point University to tell the story through their eyes. It was unlike anything I've ever seen. We stood on the National Mall for 8 hours, packed together like sardines. The cold temperatures and lack of bathroom breaks were well worth the opportunity to witness history.
Chad, I love you tell me so many different stories about some of the things that you've covered over your career, but this really was a standout.
Oh, absolutely, right at the top. And fortunately, I've got some things that you can see right here to keep my memory alive here. These are the programs that we got from the inauguration. It was such a special moment, but I think being there with all of those people made it feel very special. So seeing it on TV where there were no people really was a very different feeling. But I think I wrote on Facebook today that it's important that no matter whether you support the person who took the oath 4 years ago or today, it's important that we continue to remember the importance of democracy and the importance of this day in our nation's history.
And watching that peaceful transition of power.
Absolutely.